There's something people don't tell you about heartbreak. They tell you it's about missing them, missing their voice, their presence, the way they used to look at you. But that's not the hardest part. The hardest part is everything that stays after the missing fades. Because one day you wake up and you realize you don't miss them the same way anymore. And instead of relief, you feel something much heavier. We grow up believing that love ends in one clean moment. A breakup, a final conversation, a last goodbye, like a door closing. But real endings don't work like that. They stretch, they echo, they leave pieces of someone behind in places you didn't know could hold memories. You still reach for your phone, not because you want to text them, but because your brain hasn't caught up yet. You still think of them when something good happens. You still feel the absence in moments that used to belong to both of you. And slowly you realize you're not just grieving a person, you're grieving a version of your life that no longer exists. At first, missing them feels unbearable. It's loud, it's constant, it keeps you awake at night. But here's the truth most people don't expect. Missing them is actually the easiest phase. Because missing gives you something to hold on to. It keeps the connection alive even if it's only in your head. It tells you, they mattered. This was real. I didn't imagine it. But what happens when that feeling starts to fade? When the memories stop hurting the same way? When their name doesn't hit you in the chest anymore? That's when things get complicated. Because now, you're left with something much quieter and much harder to face. The hardest part isn't missing them. It's losing the version of yourself that existed with them. When you're in a relationship, your identity expands. You're not just you anymore. You're someone's person. You have shared routines, shared jokes, shared meaning. Your brain builds patterns around them. And when they leave, those patterns don't disappear overnight. So you sit there in the same life, but everything feels slightly off. You don't know what to do with your time. You don't know who to talk to in the same way. Even simple decisions feel heavier because a part of your identity was built around someone who is no longer there. And now, you're left asking, who am I without this? There's a reason breakups feel physical, because they are. Love creates chemical bonds in the brain, dopamine, oxytocin, attachment loops. And when the relationship ends, your brain goes into withdrawal. That's why you feel restless. Why you check their social media without thinking. Why silence feels louder than it should. It's not weakness. It's your brain trying to find something it was trained to depend on. But here's where it gets harder. Eventually, the withdrawal fades. And what replaces it is emptiness. Not pain, not longing, just space. People think healing feels like relief, but often it feels like nothing. You wake up and the emotional intensity is gone. No more late night spirals, no more overwhelming sadness. And for a moment, you think, I'm okay. But then a different thought appears. If I'm okay, then what was all of that for? That's the part no one prepares you for. When the story you built in your head no longer has a place in your present. The hardest part isn't letting go of them. It's letting go of what they meant The future you imagined, the plans you made, the version of life that felt certain. Because when a relationship ends, it doesn't just take a person away. It takes a narrative. And humans need narratives. We need to believe things happen for a reason. We need to believe something mattered. So when it ends without closure, your mind keeps trying to rewrite the story. What if I had done this differently? What if we tried again? What if it wasn't really over? But the truth is, some stories don't get clean endings, and holding on to them only keeps you stuck inside a chapter that's already finished. Healing doesn't happen when you stop missing them. It happens when you stop needing the story to continue, when you can sit with the silence without trying to fill it, when you can accept that something was real, even if it didn't last. And most importantly, when you stop measuring your present against a past that no longer exists. That's when something shifts. Not dramatically, not all at once, but quietly. You begin to rebuild, not the life you had, but a life that belongs entirely to you. So no, the hardest part after a breakup isn't missing them. It's learning how to exist without the version of yourself that loved them. It's sitting in the space they left behind and choosing not to fill it with illusions. It's accepting that something can be meaningful without being permanent. And maybe that's what growth actually feels like. Not moving on, but moving forward without needing to carry everything with you.